It started with a single park bench, small and unassuming, its wood worn smooth by the countless people who had sat there before me. To a passerby, it blended into the background, just an ordinary bench. But for me, it became a gateway to transformation. I sat there alone, surrounded by such beauty, the world hurrying by. Amongst many things, I wondered, did anybody else take the time to notice what was right in front of their eyes? And so, my path to inner wisdom began in adversity. I was 25 years old and had recently experienced the biggest, most soul-wrenching heartbreak, where I lost two meaningful people in my life, my first love and also one of my best friends. One day, on my way to work, I decided to sit on a park bench and listen to a guided meditation on Spotify. I approached that bench with nerves and doubt flooding my mind, merely longing for some fleeting comfort amidst my heartache. I couldn't have imagined the solace that it would offer. Day after day, I found myself returning to that spot until it eventually became a daily habit. It served as a way for me to cope with the stress and anxiety of a situation, calming both my mind and soothing my heart. I also took the time as an opportunity to reflect on the hurtful words that had been directing to me during this time. These words that attempted to define me, but I chose to approach them differently, with an open heart, mind, and eyes. I questioned these perceptions and wondered if there was any truth to them. Was I truly stubborn, passive-aggressive, and resistant to change? How could I have been so blind if this was indeed true? Regardless of whether I agreed with their perspective, I acknowledged that their reality was valid. Similarly, my perception of them was my own reality. Our realities are shaped by what we believe to be true, at least until we start challenging those beliefs and examining our ways of being. I returned to that bench again and again, eyes closed in meditation. It revealed itself as so much more. It was a bridge to serenity and a passage inward to unconditional love awaiting within me. Over time, the knots of grief in my chest began to loosen and untie themselves. It was not the bench itself that shifted me, but the space it provided, a place to peel back layers and hurt and finding peace glowing beneath it all. The stillness and sanctuary it represented kindled my awakening. Through this process, I gained a deeper understanding that reality is subjective and varies depending on the observer's perspective. This experience taught me valuable lessons about myself, perceptions, and the nature of individual realities. By sitting with the discomfort and examining these truths, I realized that while I may have labeled my actions as trying to keep peace and avoiding aggression, others perceived me as avoidant and passive-aggressive. I knew one thing for sure. I did not want to be that person. I did not want to be defined by those things, neither in their reality or mine. This realization led me to understand why I was behaving in that manner. Through meditation, I started recognizing the benefits of not only observing how others perceived me, but also being aware of how my reactions can cause unintended consequences. I began to respond rather than react, a practice that takes continuous effort and mindfulness. In this practice, it's essential to remember that we are all human, prone to triggers and falling back into old patterns. However, knowing that we have a choice allows us to explore different ways of being. We are not stuck being who we've previously been. This practice of self-awareness and thoughtful response can become a form of meditation in itself. I've since encountered many benches, realizing that the solace I found was not in the bench itself, but rather in my mind. I discovered how to shift my reality by planting seeds of positive change. It was on this original bench where I first glimpsed my inner light. The memory of that park bench still lives in my head. Although I cannot physically be at that park bench, simply closing my eyes can transport me there. I return to this place to connect with a version of myself that seeks healing and longs to find its way of being. We all have an inherent sense of completeness, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to be rediscovered. It may not be a bench for you, but imagine finding or creating a nurturing space for self-reflection and personal growth. This environment would silence the inner critic and empower us to live consciously and compassionately, guided by our true and authentic selves. A place to look within, to shed away layers of false identity and reveal our true essence. A place to appreciate the beauty that already exists within you. I invite you to start where you are. That single park bench is proof that we don't need much to reconnect. Simply having the intention to pause and be present, to take notice, even if it's only for one breath.